Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening. Today again, we're going to tell a story. This one's about a little kangaroo named Jackson. It's a very quick, fun, short children's story. Once upon a time, there was this little kangaroo named Jackson, and he says, "Dear Mom and Dad." He wrote a little letter because he didn't know how to talk, so he's using his feet to write a letter. Okay. And he goes, "Dear Mom and Dad, I want to kill somebody because I am so mad about how they won't accept me into school because I'm a kangaroo." And he put it under their door, and he hopped back.
No, wait a minute, was he going to a human school, or?
He wanted to go to a human school, but they wouldn't let him in because he's a kangaroo. So so he writes it, puts it under the door, and then they get the letter, and in the morning they wake him up and say, "Honey, this is a very inappropriate letter. You should never ever kill somebody, especially if you're angry, because you'll do it, and you won't be a right boy for it." And he said, "Well, I'm never going to be a boy because I'm a kangaroo, and I want to go to school." And they said, "Listen, this is an easy fix. All you have to do is put on a hat, and nobody will ever assume that you're a kangaroo." So he's like, "Wow, why didn't I think about that?" This is like that movie, Kangaroo Jack, all over again. But his name happened to be Jackson.
This is the prequel to Kangaroo Jack.
No, this is just a different alternate universe.
Not this again.
Yeah, alternate universe Jackson, AUJ.
Okay.
And that's what his friends say to him. They say, "Hey, AUJ, how you doing?" Anyway, So he says, "You know what? I need to go and steal a hat because I can't go in the store and buy one because they'll think I'm a kangaroo trying to buy a hat, and I don't have enough money in my pouch anyway." What
is with this prejudice everyone's having against kangaroos?
No, they just don't like them. They think they're going to fight them or something. You know, there's quite the war because of all the kangaroo outbreaks. In the city, they were burning cars and flipping them over.
Well, then they have good reason to be afraid of them.
But this one's a nice kangaroo, and his family's a nice. They grew up in a good neighborhood, you know.
I see.
They have nice roots to their family. So he goes, and he says, "I'm going to steal a hat." So he goes and he looks, and he's looking at all these houses and all their yards, and he finally sees a hat hanging on the post, and he goes, "I'm going to steal that hat. It's nice purple hat." And he sews, and he goes over and gets it. It's like do 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 do. And he gets it, and he's the first kangaroo to ever whistle.
How is that relevant?
I don't know. Actually, I do. Let me tell you. So he's whistling, and this guy watches him with his binoculars, because there's this guy who watches everybody with his binoculars because his eyes are really bad.
Oh, okay. I was going to say he's a bit of a creep, but...
No. He just doesn't have good eyes. So he's watching him from his back window, and he says, "Wow, that's the first kangaroo I've ever seen that whistled."
That's pretty shocking, considering he's clearly Australian.
You missed what I said. "Oi, that's the first kangaroo I've ever seen that's ever whistled."
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he says, "Oi, I should go and get that kangaroo over there, and I'm going to take him and put him on the circus and make him whistle me some songs so I can make some big bucks, because I haven't had any good eyes. So if I make big enough bucks, I can get some big eyes. I can put them in my head, and I'll be able to see my lovely wife." So he says, "This is great." He says, "This is great." In his mind, he doesn't have an accent, so he says, "This is great. I'm going to go get that kangaroo right now." And so he gets his shotgun, and he goes up behind the kangaroo and says, "Oi, stand still. Don't move. I'm going to shoot you." And the kangaroo looks at him, and he goes, "That's just why I like you, son. I want you to be in my circus. I want you to whistle for people."
So he already has the circus.
Well, he's got his cousin's circus, but he calls it his circus because it's like a family thing.
It's a family business.
Yeah. But he's kind of like, he's on the edge, you know.
Sure.
Anyway, so Kangaroo's like, well, maybe this would be my opportunity to get to school. Because if he can go and interact with people and whistle, he thinks, this is fine, I'll do it. So he puts the hat on. This guy can't.
What kind of hat was it, by the way?
Purple baseball hat. And so this guy can't see. So he's like, "Oh, there's a kangaroo for you." And so he takes him and he says, "Let's go to the circus." So they go, they get there, and the guy goes, "Hey, cousin, what do you think? I got a kangaroo here who whistles." And he's like, "What do you mean, kangaroo?" And he looks at him.
So his cousin isn't Australian.
No, his cousin's not. The guy telling the story is just kind of lazy and doesn't know where to put his accents. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So he looks over at the guy, the kid in the hat, and he's like, "What do you mean, kangaroo?" Because he can see, he doesn't know that it's a kangaroo.
Because the hat's acting as a disguise.
Right, but the guy who can't see is like, he just sees this big thing. He's like, "Oh, it must be a kangaroo."
Oh, because he can't see at all.
Yeah, he can't see well. So he's like, "Well, whatever you say, cuz," because, he kind of owed him a favor anyway. So he's like, "I'll just put up with this guy, and, I'll just let my cousin put this kangaroo in the circus." So kid's hopping around, and he's like, "What's your name anyway?" He says, "My name's Jackson." He says, "Well, I'm going to call you Joey, because that's a bit easier for my tiny mind. It's just
I love how this guy's talking himself down.
He's like, I can't really put the k sound together very well with words, so I'm going to call you Joey instead of Jack. And so anyway, then he goes and he starts whistling into a microphone at the circus the next day. And he goes, and he goes, wow, that was magnificent, Joey. That was great. Clapping his hands. He says, oh, man, Joey. Oh, it's going to make us big bucks. And so his cousin's like, maybe if I just give him money, he'll leave me alone. Which is what a lot of people say about me.
Oh, no.
So this is why it's kind of not so much of an alternate reality. So
It's too close
alternate
to home.
universe, yeah. So the guy takes his money and he's like, oh, I'm going to go buy myself a nice pair of eyes. I'm going to put them in my head. I'm going to see my wife. And I'm going to be a big boy. And I'm going to be a good man. And I'm going to live a good life. And so he goes and gets an operation 3 weeks later. They got to schedule it out.
Sure.
Gets his eyes put in. And,
Now are they big eyes?
they're big eyes, yes.
Oh.
He said he wanted big eyes, I guess, so he can see farther, I guess. So anyway.
How big are we talking? Baseball size?
It's like golf ball.
Sounds pretty normal, actually.
Nah.
No.
They're like, okay, they're kids' foam golf balls that you see in the backyard.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
You know what I mean? Like a
Wiffle golf balls.
Yeah, something like that, but they're big. Anyway, so he goes and sees a kangaroo again. He's like, maybe I can make some more money on this kangaroo, eh? And he says, wait a minute, you're not a kangaroo. You're just a chap with a purple hat. He says, hey, fool, I didn't tell you nothing.
Why does Jackson keep changing?
Yeah, he doesn't. He's trying out different things because he's trying to look more like a human. He's like,
right.
hey, it's working. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go college, and I'm going to graduate. He says, wow, you're not going to get to college like that if you talk like that. Graduate.
Yeah, even him with his tiny braid can understand that.
Yeah, he knows. He's been to college.
Has he?
He went to the cafeteria to buy food one time. He didn't actually go to college, like as a student, but as a creepy guy with binoculars. Yeah, he bought some food. So anyway, the guy goes home. He's like, oh, I can't wait to see my beautiful wife. And he goes, this is her worst Australian accent. It's not really, kind of more British. Anyway, so he goes and he's like, wow, you're ugly. And he slaps her.
What'd she have to say about that?
Turns out it wasn't even a woman.
It was a kangaroo.
It was a kangaroo. And she punches him right in the nose and says, don't talk to me like that. It was just wild,
That sure sounds like
He was married to a kangaroo the whole time. And she whistled, and he didn't even know. He thought he found something special, but he's just an idiot, so everybody knows kangaroos whistle.
Of course, it's common knowledge.
So, long story short, Jackson went to college. He got a lot of knowledge, and he put a diploma in his pouch, and he hopped into the sunset. And the guy with the accent and the shotgun was sad, but he stayed with the wife, even though she punched him in the nose and broke his nose. So he's trying to save up money for that because he wants to smell his beautiful wife. So,
Oh, okay.
so moral of the story, don't ever judge others based on their fake poor accents.
I was gonna say, don't judge others by what you can't see.
I suppose.
But I got one quick question. Sure. Jackson ended up going to college. Is this correct?
Yeah, he went to Australia State.
Of course. All right. What major did he go for?
Criminal justice.
Did he
wanted to be a kangaroo cop.
Wait, so he
with a K for cop.
Kangaroo cop. So he started out his life, or at least his early childhood, by committing a crime and stealing a hat.
Yeah.
And that made him realize he wanted to go ahead and become work for justice, become a criminal.
Yeah, and then he actually turned himself in.
Did he?
Yeah, he got 3 years for stealing a hat, but it turns out to be good for him. And then once he actually returned the hat, everyone was like, wait a minute, he's a kangaroo. And they hung him up by his toes and it made him cry.
Yeah, that would do it.
But it was okay because he kind of liked hanging up by his toes because his toes were kind of stiff. So it all worked out.
All right.
And his parents came and visited him. And, he just hung there for 60 years.
So he had 3 years in prison and 6 years hung by the toes?
Yeah, 3 years in prison after college. 60
Which could
years
have
hung
been
by
4
his
to
toes.
6 years by itself.
Yeah, 60 years hanging on his toes and whistling upside down. And, they fed him. And then he lived another 50 years and he got a wife and 3 children. So
now, was the wife a kangaroo or was the wife a human?
The world may never know.
All right.
Because his eyes went out because he was hanging upside down for 60 years. He couldn't tell. And that's the story of the kangaroo cop. Sleep well, rest up, stay cool. Good night.